Hey, hi, friendly friends. Oh my goodness. It's so nice to be here with you guys again. Hello. Coming to you live from a closet. I'm in the closet, everybody. I'm in it. I'm going to get out later. But right now, I'm in it. It's not a sexuality closet in this case, it's a literal closet. What is that a metaphor for? That's a really good question that I think I'll sit with. But for the moment, the three-dimensional reasons I'm in this closet are my office is still being set up. I have my chair and I have my windows and I have art. My desk hasn't arrived in my new place. Hey, Nicole Abbott, what's up? And Jacqueline, good to see you. Who else is here? Say hi, guys. So anyway, and also it's the sound is better in here because it's kind of contained. I also feel like I'm like sneaking and getting away with something by doing this in a closet. It feels like kind of wrong, which I kind of enjoy. So, life force energy. I wanted to talk about this today. Hi. Oh my God, Tiffany Michelle. I can't believe it's you. Also, what is Michelle? Is that your middle name? I've never asked you that. I've always wondered. So, I want to talk about life force energy today. You know how when someone in the world that you're in, you're walking around, middle name, got you, Tiffany. You're walking around your life and a human being or a billboard or a television show or something makes a sound at you, says a phrase, introduces an idea, reminds you of a something, and you can't get that thing out of your head. And that idea or that phrase or that song or that sound just like won't leave you. Oftentimes there's some kind of truth in that for us, or there's some kind of lesson or wisdom or information available in those earworms, as it were. Particularly, by the way, this happens with songs too. When you get a song stuck in your head, oftentimes, hey, M, I don't know who M is, but hey, um, when you get an earworm or a song stuck in your head, you want to look at like, what are those lyrics? Which lyrics specifically are in your head? And there is something for you in it. There's always something for us in anything that won't stop poking. Now, I want to be very clear. The idea of ideas or messages or song lyrics that poke at us is very different from the energy of ruminating. Ruminating is when you're in your mind thinking about something, trying to figure it out. Ruminating is the psyche's unconscious attempt to get, is one of the ways the psyche unconsciously tries to get us away from having to feel uncomfortable feelings we don't want to feel for whichever reasons we're avoiding our feelings in that moment. That's ruminating, thinking, trying to figure it out, ruminating, spinning, wondering, pondering. Grrr. It's driving you a little cuckoo pants. It doesn't feel very peaceful in your body when you're ruminating. But if you can feel like centered and good and you can't get a phrase out of your head, or the universe keeps showing you a thing over and over again, like you see it on a billboard, you see it on the back of a car, you see it in the next movie you watch, there's something for you in it. So anyway, recently I had, let's see, a friend of mine who's also an energy healer mentioned just in passing mentioned the concept of life force. How did she say it? She was talking about, I noticed that people, she was talking about people in a certain part of the country from her perspective. There's just one lady with one point of view. Okay. That human beings in a certain part of our country, in here in America, tend to not have a lot of life force energy. And she was saying this in a way that frustrated her. She likes to live in parts of the country that have a lot of life force. And it really got me thinking about people who are on a healing path or a spirituality path. There's so much to say on this topic. But it can be very important to understand and be able to distinguish between the difference, to understand the difference between our personal life force energy and spiritual energy, or you could say divine light itself, or you could say the lights of the star beings if you're working with star seed energy, or even the light of the earth. And when I say the light, okay, let's clarify even that word. As many of you know here, if you've done energy work at all, the divine light is the frequency of consciousness known as the divine. It's a frequency, it's a light. It has a timbre, it has a quality, it has a frequency in the same way that sound waves have frequency. If I go, hey, that's a different frequency than if I go, hey, and if I go, what's up? Those are three different frequencies of sound. Okay. The divine light, God's light, whatever you like to call that thing, love, is a certain frequency. And I would even add, depending on which spiritual practice you engage in, each of the practici have their own frequency of divine light. And you could even look at the specific differences of the frequencies of the different light beings and star seeds. So the star beings each have their own frequency. Now they're pretty similar. Yeah, no, they can be pretty similar, but they're not the same. I was just double checking that as I said it. um, for example, if we look at the energy of the Arcturians, the frequency of the Arcturian, these are star beings, the Arcturians, doesn't really matter. This is a frequency of light that is very sort of like the metaphor I always get with the Arcturians is like, imagine a galactic warrior that has the heart of an elephant. Like, if you've ever interacted with elephants, they're very loving. They're very warm and they're like cozy, cuddly beasts, but they're huge and they'll fuck you up. They will an elephant could kill you no problem. One little foot on your face, done. And a tusk through the neck, you're all set forever. So so Arcturian light is like a warm, cozy, spiritual robe with fuzzy bunny slippers that could also fucking murder you if it chose to. That's the Arcturian frequency of conscious light. The frequency of the Sirian light, Sirian, from planet Sirius, is more like, my God, like a bright red beam of potency. It's just like truth. It's like very strong, very powerful, very direct. So you can see both are frequencies of light that come from conscious realms or beings of higher conscious frequency than ours here in three-dimensional reality, or we could say different vibrational frequency than ours here in 3D reality, but they're quite different from one another still. Okay. The point being, when we channel, when we're like talking to our guides, right? Some of you are into your guides. When we're bringing divine light through the body, when we're receiving information or energy frequencies from the star beings, when we're meditating on the energy of the earth, these are all different energies than the energy of the life force of a human being. The life force of a human being is a particular and specific energy that only can exist in the body of a human being. If you were to look at the life force of a Pleiadian star being, okay, you would see it has a very different kind of frequency than the life force of a human being because we're living in different dimensional realities. So the dimensional reality called Earth, where y'all are doing your thing right at this moment, has, or you could say facilitates or makes possible or allows for a specific and particular kind of life force to animate the human mammal. So we want to have an understanding that life force is almost like the most important thing in your life, in the sense that when your life force is messed with, you can't do what you're here to do, be who you're here to be, stand. Because why? Because you can't stand in your own power and be you. You were brought into human form and, from my point of view, chose to embody this way this time around in this particular lifetime intentionally. You had an agreement with consciousness. You guys together said, like, okay, I'm going to do this now. And you chose it. So that means that you're meant to become functional, at least, if not a master of your life force. Your life force is the chi, it's the prana, it's the energy that gives you the willingness, the ability, the passion, the drive, the energy to do your life. What happens with spiritual people a lot of times is we disempower ourselves to spiritual energy. We assume that spirituality or spiritual energy, divine light, divine consciousness, for example, has something more important than we have. It's not more important than us. It is higher frequency. It tends to be more aware than we tend to function as, depending on who you are as a human and where you are on your awakening path. Consciousness and God's light, if you will, the divine light, whatever that means to you. have both of those frequencies, have more awareness than you in your human form tend to have. Why? Because thoughts and feelings get in the way of awareness. Awareness is what you know without knowing how you know, and it's sort of eternal and it's light and it's bright and it's just true. Thoughts and feelings are lower vibrational frequencies of awareness, or you could say consciousness. They're limitations. Now, limitations are not necessarily bad. Limitations are, you're sort of supposed to have certain limitations as a human mammal. Because if you think about it this way, if you could literally do anything, how would you live into your purpose? One's purpose is discovered through the trial and error process of discovering what one cannot tolerate and what one loves doing and what one can tolerate and where one is maximally useful to others and with what works. You can't, people when they come to psychics to learn what's my purpose, it's almost the worst question you could ask a spiritual psychic person, because the second you hear it from someone else's mouth, it can become very disempowering. Meaning, how we learn what our purpose is through living life and discovering, "Ooh, no, not that, not that. Oh, it's a little bit of this, but not too much of that. No, not that, this, that." And then boom, you kind of can land in a pocket where you're like, "I get what I'm here to do, and I'm doing it." Another lie that spiritual people like to believe is once you know your purpose, everything's easy peasy, fun time, rainbow, sugar pants. It's not. Some days when you're living your purpose, you want to fucking blow the building up or set your face on fire or kill your assistant or whatever, whatever it might be. Leslie's like, do I need to hide? No, I'm just giving examples for funsies. Kill your boss, strangle your dog. You're going to go through all kinds of shit while you're busy living your purpose. So living your purpose doesn't solve all your problems, guys. Let's be very clear. But it does feel pretty good to be doing what feels correct, right? How do we do what's correct? We have to have life force energy in order to be able to do what's correct. So, what is the relationship between these star beings and your life force energy? What is the relationship between the divine light and your life force energy? What is the relationship, even let's go this place, between plant medicine and your life force energy? What is the relationship between marijuana and your life force energy? The point of other frequencies that are not life force energy is to get your life force energy working correctly. Divine light is only as useful as to the degree that it aligns you with your life force energy. If you're channeling a ton of divine light and it drains you and is terrible and does, then you can't live into your fucking life force, you're going to want to do less of that. If it amplifies your life force and gives you life and energy to do things, then okay, great, do some more of that. If going to the gym amplifies your life force, do more of that. If going to the gym decreases your life force, do less of that. If qigong amplifies your life force, do more of that. If petting your dog, who's on my lap right now, I know you've missed her. She's still here. Let's look at her for a second. I'm grabbing the scruff on her neck. Can you see it? She has so much neck chub. I'm obsessed with it and I can't stop touching it because I love it. It might be the thing that gives me the most life force in life. If going to see plays amplifies your life force, go see more plays. If making plays amplifies your life force, make more plays. So the point is, divine light, star being light, earth light, meditative light, qigong energy, acupuncture, Sufi healing light, whatever lights you're messing with, what you want them to be doing is activating and empowering your life force energy. Think of life force as being like the frequency. I'm just going to channel this a little bit here. The frequency at which your body hums when all of the systems that comprise it are functioning as they were meant to. Let's say that again. Life force energy is the frequency at which your body hums when all the systems that comprise it, the body, are functioning correctly. So divine light transmission is meant to heal or process or integrate the energies within you that stop your body, your physical form, from functioning correctly as itself. You're not meant to become, a Syrian in this life and just float above your life and have no feelings and have no problems. You're meant to activate yourself, capital S self, and have the energy of the entirety of yourself available to you. So let's look a little bit more closely at what that means. What does the entirety of yourself include? Here's bad news for spiritual people, and I am one of them. So believe me, these are things I've wrestled with, which is why I share this with you guys to save you some time, I hope. When you start to or continue to or have a habit of diminishing the presence in your life of your lower self, your anger, your fear, your doubt, anything in your shadow self, when you repress the shadow self, when you repress the lower self, your anger, your fear, your doubt, your insecurity, your sadness, your grief, your rage, when those energies are bottled up and not allowed to live, or even when you spiritualize them into the wind, you lose important and valuable life force energy. Let me explain by breaking this down a little more specifically. Let me take a recent example. I had somebody crossing some boundaries of mine recently, and it fucking pissed me off. And I'm an elevated spiritual teacher. I'm not supposed to get pissed off, right? Wrong. That's not how the human mammal works. Getting pissed off is appropriate sometimes. When you have a boundary that's being crossed, it's one very appropriate response that a human organism could have. So I angrily said to the person, I need you to stop doing this, this, and that because it's boundary crossing. I've clarified with you I don't want these behaviors. Stop it. You're pissing me off. And the person went, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And went away and stopped doing the fucking boundary crossing behavior I had already fucking asked them to stop doing. So then guess what happened? They stopped doing it and I was not angry anymore. I didn't have to do energy healing on my anger. I didn't have to figure out my anger. I had to listen to and understand the important message my anger was trying to give me. The important message my anger was giving me was somebody is crossing a boundary of mine. I am not okay with what's happening. I have stated I'm not okay, and you're still doing the thing. That makes me mad. Why? Because the human emotional system is designed to give you clues about what's not working in the physical system. It gives you, okay, I'm going to calm down. All of the emotions that we each have as human beings are trying their best to say, hey, something's off here. Something's not right. You are crossing your own boundary. You are not getting your needs met. Somebody's crossing your boundary. You aren't speaking up for yourself. You're pushing. You're trying too hard. You're not trying hard enough. You're sad and lonely. Your feelings are always saying something important to you about a need that you have that is not getting met. A need you have that's not getting met. Excuse me, but people on the healing path, 9 times out of 10, I'm full of burps. People on the healing path who wind up doing spiritual healing work often wind up doing spiritual healing work because there was such a profound lack of love in childhood that was present in childhood that nothing felt like love until you met the divine light, probably. Nothing changed your inner landscape but the divine or the conscious light work, right? I'm sure you guys can relate to this if you're here listening to me say words. And that's because of the profound lack of love that occurred in childhood. So when there is a profound lack of love in childhood, we tend to grow up believing there's something inherently wrong with the life force energy of us. So then what we do is we go to work trying to fix all the problems of us. Hi, Sarah Stokes. So that we can feel okay again. The problem is sometimes we can be doing our healing work from the perspective of I have to kill my life force off. one bit or another of my life force because it must be the problem. If I weren't the problem and parts of my life force energy weren't the problem, then none of this stuff would have happened. Incorrect. What happened was somebody damaged your relationship to your life force energy. That's all that happened. So when you do your energy healing work, what it does is it reconnects you to yourself, your capital S self, your own life force energy. And you'll start to feel really like awake. Anything you're doing that's making you feel tired, drained, exhausted. Now, I'm not talking about post healing exhaustion. That's normal. Have a healing, get exhausted, lay down. Notice in 2 weeks, as a result of that healing and laying down, you feel a lot more animated, right? If something's draining you of your life force, however, it's probably like not a thing you want to engage with at this moment. You want in your life things that amplify your life force. Okay, so here's another, remember I started this conversation today by talking about when the universe gives you a topic, in many fronts. You see it on a billboard, you see it on a, what's that called? Bumper sticker, you see it in a movie. So my friend I mentioned to you was talking about life force energy. And then if you haven't yet watched the documentary Stutz, Stuts, maybe it is, or it might be Z. Might be, I'm writing it in the chat. Stuts. I can't remember if it's Stutz or Stuts, but it's on Netflix. Jonah Hill made a documentary about his therapist, and it's called Stutz. It was right after my friend had said this thing, and I was meditating on the notion of life force and what is my relationship to my own life force, and what do people probably need to hear about life force. Right as I'm sitting in that question, I watched Stutz, the documentary. I was drawn to it, and the first thing he says is, "Get your life force energy working, and then everything else falls into place from there." From his point of view, he talks about this is why people need to prioritize taking care of their physical body almost above everything else. Get to the gym, eat correctly for yourself, whatever that means. Because when you work out in the way that works for your body, not in the way that everybody says, but in the way that works for your body, and when you eat the foods that nurture, activate, and give your body energy, life force energy, when you eat in a way that is nourishing for you, your spiritual energy amplifies, as does your life force energy. They are, in the sense, you guys, that nothing is separate from anything else. Of course, spiritual energy and life force are the same. In the realm of unity, all things are one thing. Great. But we live here in the realm of duality, where all things are not one thing. Many things are different things. This pen is different from this dog. This is a dog. This is a pen. They're different. They have different life force energies. So the pen could eat ink and feel very alive. The dog needs a very specific regimen of chicken and rice and turkey in order to feel healthy and for her digestive system, which is very sensitive, to work. Okay, so you are the dog. Your best friend down the street might be a pen. So there's no one size fits all about what you should be eating or how you should be exercising. But this is the experiment of life. You got to try stuff on and see what amplifies my life force energy. Now, this brings us to an interesting aspect of what is life force energy? How do I know if I'm living into it? Life force energy, how shall I say? I'm going to just listen in for a moment. I opened the Akashic Records of Consciousness before I popped in today so I can shut up a little and listen in when I need to. Some of these things are so subtle. My mind wouldn't be able to come up with them. So, how we know we're living into life force energy is there's a kind of activated aliveness to it that is also somewhat peaceful. Um, it's different from the energy of mania. Many of you, I'm sure, have experienced like the highs and lows of depression and mania. Mania is partially dissociative. So you're out of your body, at least to a certain degree, if not entirely, when you're in a manic episode. So there's a real like halfway here, halfway not. And there's kind of when I've experienced it anyway, a kind of like, oof, freneticism that is really amplified and kind of jagged around the edges. If you think of mania as a frequency, right? We're talking about all these energies as frequencies. There's a jagged edge to the frequency of mania. Whereas there's a kind of like, I'll tell you, when I'm in my full life force, I'm full of fucking energy. I got a lot of definition in my design, and I'm a manifesting generator, and I got tons of energy. Okay. So there are times when my energy is too high. My life force is too high. And I have to actually like lift heavy weights and go to the gym just to get my life force balanced out so that my nervous system can handle how much life force it has coming through it. But there are other times where I'm dragging ass to that gym because I don't have any fucking life force going through me. So I'm always living into the question, what does my body and my consciousness need now in this 10-second increment of time? Remember that conscious awareness happens in the present moment. And now this present moment. Now that one's gone. Now this present moment. We don't get to go like, it's always this. The solution to how to amplify your life force energy is going to be dependent upon the moment you're in. But most humans don't like being in the moment they're in. They'll do anything to not be in the moment they're in. Why? Because the pesky feelings are here in the moment you're in. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you frame it, the only way to really, like, you could say, solve the problems of your life is you have to be present enough to know what's happening for you. You have to be present enough moments in the day to understand what your body requires. Like, I was blessed with the gift of having to get sober at a young age. Like, I had to. And when I did, I was so present that I learned everywhere I was holding dark energy, everywhere. I learned a lot about my nervous system and what I thought it was versus what it really is. What I thought I was capable of versus what I'm really capable of. What I believed I was here to do and what I'm really here to do. You know, when I had no when it no longer became an option that I could put a ton of, toxic what do you call it, substances in my body to try to animate it to do what my mind thought it should do. I learned I'm a 6'2". I'm a hermit role model. And I have a hermetic body that needs a lot of time alone and a lot of downtime, and it gets tired and it's very sensitive. That's what a second line body is. I could never have learned all about that unless I had been so present moment by moment that I was noticing which experiences in my life made my body feel terrible. Now, here's what most people do when they're learning to become present in the moments of their life. They start to notice what makes their body feel bad, and then they go to work judging themselves. They go to work saying like, well, I better change myself so that I can fill in the blank. I'm dating this person and they make me feel drained and exhausted. Or I'm dating this person and they make me feel too amped up and I can't ground or relax around them. There must be something wrong with me. I should go to work to fix me. If something is too amplifying for you, or if something is too depressive for you, it doesn't work for you. Now, you can find ways to work with people. Like if we're talking about somebody in a work situation or somebody like you can't get away from for whatever reason, I'm not talking about romantic partners or friends or family because you are allowed to leave all of those people. Talking about like you're just in a situation and every Tuesday there's this one guy who comes to your meeting and you have to deal with him and whatever. There are ways to find out ways that you two can collaborate and figure it out a little bit. But you're never going to feel not overly amplified by that person or made depressed by that person if that's what their field does to your field. So the question isn't what's wrong with me. The question is, how do I take care of myself around this energy that doesn't work for me? How do I get away from it? How do I spend as little time with it as possible? How do I get out of having to see it ever? What other kinds of energies can I buffer myself with by putting those energies between myself and that thing? These are questions that are much more practical and useful for a human being who's struggling with energies outside of themselves that are messing with their own life force. So a real important, like the core important practice here for most empaths and spiritual people like yourselves is you got to start looking at maybe it's not your fault. Whatever's happening is probably not the world. Hate to break it to you, doesn't revolve around you being a big fuck up. Sometimes certain things just don't fucking work. And I'll tell you something, one of the most useful practices you can get into to understand this and start to really see how true this is understand human design and look at a few different human design charts. And you'll start to see the way the mechanics of different people operate together. They work or they don't work. And that's kind of it. Mechanics between auras just are what they are. And if they go like this, you're not obligated to be there. If they go like this, you probably want to hang out. Unless that gets shitty for you and it gets boring and you want something else and you're looking for this. Or maybe now you're looking for this. Or maybe now you want some of this. Okay? So it's not about getting it right according to some metric of rightness. This is the lie of the spiritual system. This is the lie of the entire spiritual sort of like this, you could say the spirituality industrial complex wants you to believe there's one right way to be you, and it's according to their dogma, whoever they is. There isn't. There's what feels correct to you. There's what activates your life force, what gives you life. If it's taking life away, you need less of that, like a lot less of it. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing that needs to be fixed in you. You need less of that thing. It's like this. If I were to drink this beverage and it were to be filled with battery acid and I drink it down and I go, ow, it's stinging in the inside of my mouth. As I swallow, I feel it going down my throat. It's burning my throat. Ah, it's in my heart now. I'm having a heart attack. Oh my God, I have to go to the hospital. Then you get rushed to the hospital because you drank battery acid like a chump. And then you're in the hospital and they're like, hey, so don't drink any more battery acid. And you're like, I don't think it's the battery acid's fault. I should have had a healthier throat. If my mouth were made of something other than, organic material like plastic. So I'm going to get busy making my mouth be plastic or maybe metal. Let me go to a weekend workshop to learn how to make my mouth metal so that I can ingest battery acid. You would, if I did that, you would think I was crazy, wouldn't you? Yeah, that's what most people are doing about things in their life that diminish their life force. I should be different, and then this would work out. A lot of times, no. You can't be different, and it wasn't ever going to work out. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have any work to do and we don't have to like look at our own selves and take inventory on our own part in things. Of course we do. We have to, in fact, we have to do that. We have to understand what we're each doing in our realities that doesn't work. We have to understand which aspects of our energy that we give to the world work in certain contexts and not in other contexts. Like, I'll give you an example. My life force, for example, is very usefully applied on stage as an improv comedian in a specific, snarky, funny, over the top way. When I get too snarky, funny, and over the top, however, with my healing clients who are like healing trauma, that's sometimes people like it. Sometimes people don't because they're like dying inside and need some love and nurturance. And I'm like, but dick jokes. And they're like, nah. It's not always the correct place to put that energy. Similarly, if I'm too empathetic and sweet and in my spiritual voice with my comedy friends, they're like, what are you doing? This is not how you make funny shit happen. And they're right. So your life force can take many shapes if you're anything like me. It's just that you have to understand through self-inventory and through self-inquiry, when is your energy useful and when is it not? What form does it need to be in this context? When I'm at this job, how is my life force useful here? When I'm in this relative's house, how is my life force energy useful here? When I'm in my bedroom, how is, et cetera, et cetera. You get my point. So it looks like I have a question here. How do you find energy in our lives about finding a partner? Okay, I don't understand the question, so I'll need you to reframe that. I don't know what you're asking and what that has to do with life force energy. But if you can ask it in a different way, perhaps I'll understand it better. Feel free to write that in, Alfred. How do you find energy in our lives about finding a partner? Yeah, I don't know what you're asking. Maybe you can try again. So, anybody else, let's throw a few questions into the chat here. Does anybody have any questions or insights or awarenesses or curiosities about life force energy in general? Like maybe you have an example from your life of a thing you're doing that you're not sure if it's life force energy or something else. I can read on it psychically for you and or speak from experience about it and or channel some information for you. So let's throw a couple questions into the chat that anybody might have on this topic. Keeping in mind just the entire summation of everything I've been saying here today is the things in your life you do to care for yourself, your spiritual healing work, your therapy, your going to the gym, how much water you drink in a day, the people you surround yourself with, what you do for your career, who you marry, who you don't marry, where you live, where you don't live, what you drive, your friends, who's in your circle of people. You want to look at, do each of those individual choices amplify my life force energy or do they drain my life force energy? And whatever you can do to increase your chi or your life force energy, you're going to benefit from that in your 3D life. So, questions about this? I'll stop talking and pause until we get a question in the chat. And again, Alfred, I'm happy to respond to you. I just need you to frame that in another way because I don't know what you're asking. I know some of you must have questions. Please don't be shy. I'll say it again, and I say it all the time. When you ask a question, you always contribute to someone else. Your question is not too specific, and it's not too selfish, and it's not too stupid, and it's not too small, and it's not too big. Thoughts, questions, curiosities, please throw them into the chat now. And I'm just listening if consciousness has anything else about life force it would like to say. This is weird, guys. Who's got a question? Come on now. Throw it in there. Okay. Nobody's going to say anything. I'll say a few more things and then I'll let you go early. So, here's something to consider about life force energy. Here are some examples of things that diminish it, okay, that you might not be thinking about right now as I'm talking about this. Being inauthentic with yourself about what's happening in your relationships, like being in denial about what's happening in your major relationships, being judgmental of or resistant to your own emotional needs and emotional expressive needs. Like, what do you need from the world and what do you need to give to the world? When you're repressing any of that or denying any of that, you are cutting off your life force energy. The abuse of alcohol or drugs, over dependence on marijuana is a big one that drains people's life force energy, and nobody likes to know that because it's a justified and legal thing. Alcohol as well. Too much sugar, too many carbs, too much protein, too much water, too much anything, and not enough anything also drains your life force energy. Oh, thank you, Nicole. Let's see. She says, as I continue my journey, I find that if I'm questioning something or want to ask you about it, it is not for me. I find that if I'm questioning something or want to ask you about it, it is not for me. Can you say more about that, Nicole? Do you mean like when we're in class together? Because Nicole comes to some of my classes and you have something to ask, you end up asking it on behalf of someone else, or you ask it for yourself and then it ends up benefiting someone else? Help me understand what you mean by that. But I will agree with part of what you said, which is that, again, any question anyone ever has on these kinds of topics is always a contribution to someone else in the group. So you're only not contributing to someone else being well by hiding your question or disempowering yourself around your question. Jamie Vega, do you mean that when you start to ask a question, you actually process the question while you're asking it? No, I don't think that's what she means, except maybe if what she means is, yeah, I don't want to guess. So Nicole, go ahead and tell us some more about that. As in, I am learning to trust my gut and guidance. Okay, great. That would be the goal. Trusting the old gut and guidance. Fantastic. Yes. What is the yes in response to? It's hard with the timing of on StreamYard for whatever reason. When you guys type, there's like a delay, and when I say I don't know, there's a delay. So anyway, if you want to clarify what the just sharing, okay, great. And the yes is in response to what, Nicole? Okay, okay, she's responding to Jamie. So Jamie was correct then that when you start to ask, okay, cool, I got you. So I was wrong. Okay, a question, you actually process the question while you're asking it. That's what you meant, Nicole? I find that if I'm questioning something or want to ask you about it, it's not for me. Yeah, I think I still don't get it, but you guys are clear, so I'm happy. That's awesome. Okay, cool. Okay. So Jamie got you, and that's good. Cool. What else? Other people, insights, questions, curiosities about life force energy. That happens a lot for me, says Jamie, and then I don't ask a question because I've already answered it in my own head. I get that. That makes total sense. Mhm. Yep. Yep. 1,000,000%. Sometimes I think that's the whole thing of asking questions is just to hear ourselves ask it and go like, "Actually, I have the answer to this." Alfred Adler, can you clarify what you were trying to ask? Um, I don't know if you're still here. Nicole says, "I thought it might help others understand that sometime law, we just need to say things out loud or ask ourselves the universe and we get the answer. 1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. Cool. Any other insights, curiosities, awarenesses, questions around this that you want to ask the universe or yourself or just hear yourself say so that you can get your own awareness? Yeah, that is the ultimate. That is the ultimate, isn't it? We ask a question, we get an awareness, we move on because we already know. All right. Who has a question about life force energy versus spiritual energy, other energies, body energy, earth energy? All right, cool. Well, I guess that's it for today then, you guys, because I've said everything that's come through. Lastly, reminders. Anything you do that makes you drag ass, basically, and we're not talking about like at the end of the day you're tired, so do some cocaine because it keeps your life force energy up. Nope. We're talking about life force energy, which is cyclical. It rises like the sun and it sets like the sun. It comes and goes. It's cyclical. That's part of why it's a confusing thing and a hard thing to understand and sort of get our heads around is it's not static. It's not one thing that comes one way, right? It comes and goes, it ebbs and flows. Certain things amplify it, certain things don't. But the basic teaching here is anything that gives you more life force energy, more will to do life, more desire and excitement to be alive and make some active choices. You want more of that. Anything that drains the life force out of you, the willingness to get up in the morning, the willingness to do things, alcohol, relationships, drugs, um, other kinds of relationships, jobs, foods, waters, anything you're doing, neighborhoods, people you're surrounding yourself with, the color of the paint on the wall in your office, the frequency of the hallway in your living room. Lots of things can drain our life force energy. So you just want to be aware, like what drains it, and maybe ask the question, what can I do to not have to be uh, impressed upon with this light, with this energy that's draining my life force, rather than what's wrong with me. Now, in certain situations, this is probably obvious, but I'll say it anyway. There might be something going on with you that is contributing to your life force draining that you do need healing around, right? You might have something out of whack that is draining your life force energy that's within you. That's when healing is appropriate. I've done years and years of healing work just to get my systems to work correctly with each other, just to hear my intuition, just to feel my own sacral authority, emotional authority, just to honor my feelings, just to stop denying my lower self. All of these energy healing processes were designed to get my systems to work correctly. So you can definitely be in your own way. I don't mean to say that you can't be. But sometimes it's not that. So it's just on a case by case basis. All right. Gretchen Lou says, hi, Katie. Hi, everyone. Canceled my evening plans because my life force felt depleted. And then I saw this was happening. I arrived late, yet right on time. Fantastic. I love hearing that. Yay. How are you? I hope you're doing better. I thought of you today, my love. I was wondering how you are post op and all that. S- Uh, Fill me in. Let me know how you're doing. M says, I think it's hard to know what's draining my life force and what is trauma. Yes, you just confirmed that. Yep. Yeah, I mean, trauma will drain your life force faster than anything else. That's why the trauma work and the trauma processing is always got to be first. And it's so key and it's so central. And for some of us, the amount of trauma we're carrying takes years and years and years of healing work before it stops draining our life force. Because as long as trauma, it's Emily, by the way. Which Emily? I know like 70 Emilys, but hi, whichever one. Hi. Um, Trauma is the main, I mean, fuck, murderer of life force energy. I don't know if I can say the main. There's two competing main murderers of life force energy: trauma, and then your deluded idea that it's trauma. Meaning it's either actually trauma causing a problem for you inside of your system, or it's your belief that it's all your fault and everything's about you is wrong. And so you caused the problem that really is being caused by your asshole roommate who needs to move out. And if your asshole roommate moved out, you wouldn't have a life force problem. So it all depends on the moment. Does anybody, I mean, that brings up a great way to ask this question. Does anybody have a specific thing going on in your life right now that you'd like to ask about? Is this the thing draining my life force energy? Am I causing the drain of this life force energy? If anybody has that question, please give me this specific example in the chat and I'll look at it with you psychically and based on my own life experience and wisdom and hopefully support you in coming to understand. Go ahead and throw any specific questions into the chat you might have. All right, I'll wait 1 minute to see if anybody has any questions they could use help with. And then if not, we'll wrap this up a little early today. Ooh, I got to get a little more circulation here in the old closet until my um, desk arrives and I can be in my beautiful office, which is right here. Charlie Robinson has a question. Oh my God. I think my first ever question to you was, what is my dharma? I was thinking the other day that my dharma isn't what I am going to be or do, but it's just being as authentically present as myself as much as possible throughout my journey. Just thinking, cool. I think there's more to your dharma than that, you personally, just as I feel into it. But I would say this, if you, how did you say it? Being as authentically present as myself as much as possible. Yeah. The more authentically present you are with yourself, as much as possible, you'll know what you need to do. And in doing what you know you need to do, that's how we live our dharma. People always think they have to go outside themselves to learn their purpose and then go get busy doing it, or go outside themselves to learn what their dharma is. The dharma is the work you came here to do. Also, people like to think that your dharma doesn't feel like work. Lies. Dharma means correct work. We're here to do stuff. So what is your correct work? That's the question. And so I think you're correct, Charlie, in part by saying that being as authentically present as yourself as much as possible through your journey is a huge part of it. That's, by the way, for any generator, if you're familiar with your human design at all, generators or manifesting generators, the human design perspective is you're here to know yourself. Know yourself, be yourself, live as yourself. That's not true, by the way, for projectors, reflectors, or manifestors per se. But for generators, that's a big part of it. But part of what that means is when you know yourself, you know what you need to do. You just feel driven to do it. You just have to do it. If you don't do it, it bugs you and it won't leave. So if the only thing bugging you that won't leave right now is I have to do my trauma work, then that's what you have to do. That's part of your dharma. Dharma also, I notice, unfolds over time in stages. Like your dharma may be to wait tables for 10 years and then to become a professor of philosophy after that. It can, or vice versa. You could be a professor of philosophy for 10 years whose dharma, spiritual work, is to work in a restaurant after that for 10 years. We have so many ideas about what is correct and how it should look and how it should go that really keep us from feeling into our body about what is correct. What is correct? And remember, something that really helps with this, I have to blow this open right now because it is hot in here. Look at my books. They're on the floor. They're on the, how do I point at that? They're on the floor, but they'll be on a shelf soon. That is your human design strategy and authority. So if you're curious, let's get your human design looked at already. Go to katierubin.com, book a session, and we'll look at your design, and I'll give you a whole lot of intel about how your system was meant to operate. When you know what your strategy and authority are, you can always just, that's it. Life becomes pretty simple. Just lean into that. And then your dharma unfolds before you as you're following your strategy and authority. You don't even have to figure it out. Nobody's obligated to figure out their dharma. All you have to do is follow what your body wants and needs and knows is correct in this 10-second increment of time. Guess what? Guess why? Because the next 10-second increment of time is coming now. And every 10-second increment of time has a new mandate within it. And if you just listen to your body and follow the mandate that your body gives you in that 10-second increment of time, you wind up you can look back at your life and go, wow, I see what my dharma was. I'm glad that helps, Charlie. Very glad to hear it. All right. If anybody wants to throw one up, we have 4 more minutes. I can either close it up now or take any other questions anyone has about life force energy. It's good to be back with you guys. Thank you for being here. My OMA Pittsburgh class starts tonight at 6:30 Eastern time. So if you were thinking about it or on the fence about it, you can still hop in. Go to omapittsburgh.org, OMA Pittsburgh. Here, I'll put it in the thing. And this is an energy healing class where we're going to get into all kinds of stuff over 5 weeks. And it's my most affordable class. OMA Pittsburgh's mission, their dharma, what they've decided that they're here to do is to offer alternative healings for affordable prices. So I do this one class with them at this price to make it approachable for the people who can't afford the classes that I offer on my own. So it's been a delight to be here with you guys. Take great care. I hope you have a really great night. Squeezel just woke up because she knows we're finishing and she would like to send you her love. I'll show her to you. She doesn't want to do this at all. What do you say, Squeeze? Do you want to say anything to the people? Is that a no? She's like, no, I just want the lap. How hard is it? Just put me on the lap and stop moving me around. I love you guys. Have a great night. Take care of yourselves. Come to OMA Pittsburgh. Talk to me if you're interested in star beings. We start tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'm interviewing people now. You can't just hop into star beings anymore. You have to have a little chat with me so we can see if it's a good fit. Writing in alignment starts next week, Thursday evenings. Let me know if you're curious about that or want to hop into that. If you're in the Northern Florida area, come to my stand-up comedy show. I have 2 nationally touring stand-up comics headlining on January 29th, Sunday, 7 p.m. here in Northern Florida. And if you're interested in learning how to write stand-up comedy jokes, you can hop into firstcoastcomedy.com. I'll write that here. If you're looking to understand what is the structure of a joke, how do I tell specifically stand-up comedy jokes? It's a very specific craft. We start that class on January 22nd, Sundays for 5 weeks, skipping the 29th because that's the night of the stand-up show. You can join the stand-up comedy writing class from anywhere in the world. There are 10 or 15 people enrolled in the on the ground version of that class, and you can join us virtually. There's a few people on the virtual side too. Love you guys a whole lot. Have a great night. Take care. Bye.